All right, hello everybody, my name is Justin. I work up here in the adult and teen department, and today I'm going to show you how to make a version of ramen. This is my version, and most people are probably familiar with this version of ramen, which we are using the noodles from this, but we're not going to be using anything else from that recipe. And ramen in Japan is a little bit like barbecue in the United States. There's not really one way to do it. You go to one area and they do a shoyu ramen that's mostly based in soy sauce. The other places are based out of miso. And the one that I really like is called tonkatsu, which is sort of like a creamy pork broth. That broth is usually cooked for at least 6 hours at a rolling boil, and unfortunately we're not going to be doing that today. So this is the version that I make at home that's a few steps up from the college version that you might be used to. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a tare sauce. The tare sauce is sort of the flavor base of ramen, and the way that I make it is I start with soy sauce, and I don't usually measure it. If I had to guess, I'd go like probably 1/3 of a cup. Because of this stupid thing right there, it takes forever. So how much you put in is really up to you. It depends on how much you're making. The important part is that when you use the soy sauce, you use an equal part of mirin. And this is a very fancy mirin that we got in Indianapolis, but I usually use the stuff you get at Kroger. And we usually do about equal parts. So if you did 1/3 of a cup of the soy sauce, you do another 1/3 of the cup of mirin. Beyond that, you can put whatever you want in this. I like a little rice vinegar, just for a little bit of brightness. Let's see. These are whole peppercorns, and I have a lot in there. I'm hoping not to put all of them in there. If you don't have whole peppercorns, I don't know that I would use ground pepper, but you could. This is just garlic that I'm going to smash, and I'm not even going to bother peeling it because everything in there gets strained out. And then I'm going to do one thing of green onion, and I like to cut it so that the insides are exposed, really get that flavor into the sauce. And then we turn this on. I usually bring it up to a boil and then let it simmer until it's reduced by about half. All right, so that is the tare sauce, and that's going to be most of the flavor that we get out of this ramen. All right, so this simmered for about probably 10 minutes, and you can kind of see the consistency here. It's not super thick, it's still very liquidy, so don't reduce it too much. I did taste it in the middle, and it was really sweet. That mirin that I'm not used to is a lot sweeter. So I added a little bit of this, which I got on Amazon, which is nanami togarashi, and it's kind of a chili powder, which we'll be using here in a little bit too, but I also put it here in this sauce. And then once that sauce is done, I'm just going to strain it into this bowl, get all those solids out of there because we don't need those. I'm going to squeeze a little bit out in case some of that is in there. Set that in my trash bowl, and this is just one bowl, but I'm going to split it in two. It's just easier to get into one. You don't need a ton in there. You can see I'm just kind of covering the bottom so that each bowl has some of that tare sauce in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the noodles done. Right now I just have 4 cups of water in there. I use this product called Better Than Bouillon, who is not a sponsor, unfortunately. This is what I make my stock with, since I'm not going to sit and boil anything for 6 hours. I use a little bit of the garlic and a little bit of the chicken. So we end up with sort of a garlicky, chickeny broth. You only need a little bit of that. And you can use just regular stock. I would not use just water because it doesn't taste nearly as good. But if you have just regular chicken stock, or even beef stock if you have it. We just need that to come up to a boil. And since I have 4 cups in there, I'm doing 2 of the blocks of ramen noodles. That looks hot enough for me. All right, now I'm gonna get my phone out and I'm gonna set a timer for 3 minutes. All right, while the noodles are boiling, I have a green onion here that I'm going to chop. And you can chop it however you want, but I really like to do it on a bias because I think it's a lot prettier and it's a lot more fancy. So I'm just cutting it on a big angle so that rather than little rounds, I get long pieces like that. This is probably enough for 2 bowls, but I do really like green onion, so I'm going to go ahead and keep chopping more. There we go. Put those in my trash bowl. The great thing about ramen is how fast it cooks, like even compared to like spaghetti or something. You know, boiling noodles for 3 minutes is very easy. And when you have 4 kids like I do, the faster you can cook things, the much better it is. And I like to go through there and break things up while it's cooking. And for this version, I didn't do a protein. A lot of times I will thinly slice like a pork loin or a tenderloin to put in here, and then I just do a really quick sear and fry on it. Sometimes I marinate it in that tare sauce when I have a little bit left over, and then I just put that in there. Usually my kids just want noodles. Only my wife and I will actually eat any meat in there. But for this one, I'm keeping it super simple. For this, I'm going to use tongs, and I forgot my tongs at home, so I have these weird plastic ones. I'm going to put those straight in. I will try to divide it in half. Oh gosh, these are terrible. Ah! Don't do this. Hopefully you have something better at home. Alright. So there are the noodles. And then I have, these are some eggs that I hopefully soft boiled earlier, and these are just marinated in soy sauce. If you have extra of that tare sauce, this would be a good opportunity to use it. And they are not soft boiled, they are hard boiled. That's okay. They will still be very good. And I usually like 2. Put 2 in there. Then I'm going to put some of these green onions in there. And then here is where I'm going to bring that chili powder, the nanami togarashi, in there. And that's depending on how spicy you like things. All right, and then anything else you want to put in there, you can put in there. If you have mushrooms, put some mushrooms. If you have some meat, put some meat. Last time I cooked a steak for my wife, we had leftovers, so I just cut up the steak and put it in there. Really, anything you want. I'm going to put the recipe in the comment or in the description below. Thanks for joining us today.